Over the past couple of weeks of making Hikikomori videos and also watching a lot of documentaries and also seeing the comments, and by the way, there are a ton of comments because those videos get a lot of views, I've realized that most of the people in this situation are not as communicative. They're not as open as me or some other people. So they don't like talking about the subject. But there is a subreddit, there is a community of people who share their experiences. That's why I decided to make a video on this to read some of the posts from that subreddit. And this subreddit is called Neet. And if you don't know what Neet means, it's basically the English version of the word Hikikomori. It's the same thing. It's usually used to define people who are not in training, in education, or they're not employed. So this video will be me reading some posts so that you could get some idea of how people are open about it, and so that you get an idea of this community, and also if you like, you may join it and share your experiences. But before we start this video, show some manners. Click the like button. And other than that, just sit back and relax. I'll put a chill music in the background and just watch the video. The Neet life is lonely and miserable. Why do we do this to ourselves? I don't know. Another replies, it's not a choice for Neets. And the other replies, I'm too autistic to find a suitable job. Being a wage slave will make me depressed. I'm just waiting for my grandparents to kick me out. You know, I had this notion that if my family members kicked me out, it would be a great thing. It would not be a calamity for me, because I had this romanticizing idea about being an outcast, being shunned by society and by being disowned by the family members. So I thought that by getting myself in that situation, I could become like a survivor. I could overcome the odds, and that would make the whole story and my life more enjoyable and fulfilling. Because when humans are forced to adapt to a certain situation, that's when you see the real qualities. That's when you see the adaptability and the ability to survive and to thrive. Flinging yourself off a bridge sounds like it might be quite a bit more scary than going to a job interview. I agree. You know, before I thought that only young people, 19 or 18, became Neets or Hikikomoris. But now I know that there are a lot of 40 or 30-year-olds who also like to stay at home and not interact with other people. 30 living at home. I've been kicked out twice, moved out a few times. Things always get really hard and I fuck up and end up back home. And essentially, if I'm not providing money, I'm useless. I start wage cucking soon. Another cycle of this, I assume. I feel your pain. Feel like there's no fixing me. I'm a lost cause. I quit when stuff gets too difficult and can't help myself. No, you're not. Let me remind you that as long as you're alive and breathing, you are a bag of potential. Not just a bag of meat. I'm 46 and live at home. Soon to be 36-year-old living at home, checking in. And that's not a bad thing, because in most of the cultures, especially in some Asian countries, most people who, when they're even old, when they have grandchildren, live with their parents. And I've seen a lot of families, and it's not something unusual in some of the cultures, because when your parents take care of you, you're expected to take care of them when they get older. It's like a reciprocal thing, a duty that you have to fulfill. And in the Western culture, you are called spoiled or mollycoddled when you stay at home when you're 30 or 40. But in some other cultures, when you decide to leave home at, say, 20 or 25, you're called spoiled and irresponsible, because they think that you're trying to run away from responsibility and your duty to take care of your parents. Sam, I don't think I'll ever feel life is worth it. You know, keep looking for answers. I thought the same, but now that I think of it, life's really wonderful. It's meaningful. Anybody else just waiting for your parents to kick you out? Pessimistic, doom post incoming. I genuinely don't believe I'll ever beat my depression, be self-sufficient, be happy, or even just content. I'm not cut out for life. I'm too dysfunctional, too fucked up in the head, too apathetic, too hopeless. So I mostly just sit around, play video games, and eat junk food. Sure, I go to therapy and take the millionth antidepressant I've been prescribed. But what has changed since like 3 years ago, when I first got diagnosed and got my first therapist? Not much, I'll tell you that. Recently I landed an interview for what would have been my first job, but I cancelled out of fear. So here I am writing this through tears, and I just don't care. If and when my parents decide to kick me out, I'll just fling myself off the nearest bridge. If I don't do it before that is, I really hope I'll be forgotten and those sticking around me won't grieve too much, because at least I won't be in pain anymore. I'm just too tired. That's depressing. That's really self-deprecating. And I used to do this a lot. And it happens because you're you're focusing on too much on the ideals that others set for you. So you might not be depressed because you're in this situation. Maybe you can overcome the trauma that you had during childhood that made you become a Neet. Because I've certainly overcome that obstacle. But the thing that mostly makes us feel shitty and miserable is that the ideals, we are afraid that we are being left behind and that we are afraid of judgment of others. But by eradicating the notion that you have to impress other people and just live your life, you can immediately go like from being in the abyss, in the pit of misery, to like becoming at least somewhat happy. Just realize that life has no maps or certain definite meanings, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can become homeless and still enjoy it. If you don't know about Diogenes, that son of a bitch introduced a whole philosophy, cynicism. The philosophy of cynicism is when you throw out all the ideals and expectations of the society because you think that they are useless. They are not based around fulfillment and happiness and the correct way to live. So you become your own boss. You can do whatever you want. And he says he doesn't believe that he will ever beat depression, be self-sufficient, happy, and just content. I don't know much about self-sufficiency, but I do know about depression and what makes you happy. You're already in this miserable situation. You think it's miserable because you're not able to do things that other people are doing. You know what? I'm just a rambling piece of shit who doesn't know what he's talking about, but let me simplify this for you. Think of one thing that you would die for and make that your purpose. Make that the purpose of your existence. Am I the only one that if I don't distract myself for more than 30 minutes, I end up with an existential crisis? I want to know how you cope or deal with it. For me, games, anime, manga, I don't know how to pronounce it. Movies, series, cultivating plants. Vodka, replies someone. Drink with moderation. Nah, better to drink alone. You know, the last part, cultivating plants, that's a really good habit and a hobby to have. That's healthy. And also, there's nothing wrong with video games and watching anime, of course. And I get it. And I also used to be addicted to a lot of things. And that's usually because when you're trying to run away from something instead of confronting it. And in your situation, being Neet or a Hikikomori, it might be childhood trauma or guilt because you feel like you're being left behind. Once you become self-aware and realize that you don't need to impress other people and live the way you like it, because society is fucked up, even the whole system is flimsy, the whole ideals and what they call good or bad. So why not make your own ideals and find meaning for yourself? And once you solve that problem, I think, and you find the meaning for your life, then I think you can get rid of addiction faster because you're not trying to run away from something. Any people from a third world country, should I give up and get a job? My last job paid about $250 American. It's barely enough for food and transportation. I'm living with my parents. No way in hell can I can afford to rent. I feel like I'm being fucked in the ass. This paycheck is median in my country if you're asking. The only reason why I'm not looking for a job is because the pay is shit. It's not worth it. Any suggestions? Any way out? This is just mirroring my own thoughts about jobs in the third world countries because the economy is not as good as some of the more progressed countries, and because of that the wage is really low. So if you are a hermit or a Neet, you better find an alternative if you want to live a comfortable life. Or if you are okay with being frugal, you can of course get a job and earn your livelihood. That's no problem. And that's how most people live in this country. You earn your money for the day, and that enables you to have 3 meals a day, and that when at night you sleep, you're thinking about the next day's income. But unless you have a good business that's earning you a lot of money, or you're a skilled tradesman, anything just to provide other people with services, then that can help you a lot. That's why I've opened this YouTube channel and I write online. Even if I get a job, there should be something on the side, like a side hustle, that would not make me forced to rely on the income that I'll be earning on the part-time job. If it's third world country, then you must starvation and crippling poverty. might push you later on drugs, abuse, or crime. Suicide is another tangible option. Now that's really nihilistic, but I highly recommend not to do it unless you already made peace with yourself and die without regrets. This is my unfiltered opinion. Well, friends, I got a job. It's a terrible manual labor job, but a job nonetheless. I still live at my mom's house, and I doubt I'll be able to keep it for a long time. But I'm hoping to try and survive long enough to pocket a couple of grants and upgrade my PC. Well, you have your priorities. Nice, I'm fortunate enough to have a mother that's willing to let me Neet out for a few months, so I'm about to start wage cacking again till I can upgrade my PC. By the way, what's wage cacking? Till I can upgrade my PC, then I'll need out again. What do you do? Was the first thing he asked. My stepfather's roofers decided to stop in for a beer for some reason the other day. Thought social interaction would be good for me until he asked me that question. I felt so judged. The worst thing about being a NEET is the judgment. And you're right, when I dropped out of high school, people used to look at me and ask me what I was doing since I dropped out of high school. And they would give me this blank stare when I told them that I was doing nothing. And still, some people, when they ask me what I'm doing right now, when I say I'm doing nothing, when on the other hand, I'm doing something at least. Even though it doesn't make me money, I'm still learning and developing skills. But it's easier to say that you're doing nothing instead of just sitting down and rambling about your ambition, about your skills that you're trying to learn. You can just say you work as a freelancer from home. Now that's a good alternative than bluntly saying that you're doing nothing. Social rejection is why I've been a NEET since 2015. All my life I've been called weird. Few people in middle and high school befriended me because of it, but a majority shunned me. Ever since 2015 I've been avoiding social situations. By staying in my room, as a result, the little social skill that I did have eroded. Now if I do go out in public, with big crowds, I get ridiculously shaky. It will get so bad that I'll have panic, anxiety attacks. The last 2 years I've been trying to pull myself out of this depression, anxiety, and move out of my mom's house. Because I'll be 25 real soon. Now this one's a really relatable one. I've never really liked the vast majority of people and being forced to interact with them. And listen to their blabber daily made me miserable, so did having an unnatural routine getting forced upon me. As a NEET, I'm free from all that. Can only interact with people I actually find worthwhile, and can structure my day how I please. While I wouldn't exactly say I'm happy, I'm more content and less miserable than I was working a 9 to 5 that had me thinking about roping almost daily. I mean, that's the goal, to not be forced to interact with all the people, or at least the people who are full of crap, but some people having, preferring quality or quantity and being content. It's useless to go out after happiness, because you can never achieve that if you don't actually be happy from and content from the inside. And if you attach your happiness to something or achievement or a material thing, then once you gain that achievement or that material thing, then you will realize that, wait a minute, this is not how I thought it would be. Now I'm not happy. Reading this sub reminds me that every time that there are still non-bullshit people in the world. Well, don't know how to say, but almost every comment or post here are straight to the point. No BS, no competition, and ego games. Maybe because we are kind of out of the system, maybe. You see how people are being open about their circumstances. So that was it for this video. If you are a Hikikomori or a NEET, go join this subreddit. I'll leave the link in the description. And the good thing about communities like this is that people who are going through the same thing that you're going through will document their progress and their journey. So maybe someone who wants to get out of this situation will at some point get out, and he will share his tips and tricks of how he did it. I'm sure you can get a lot of insight from this, so be sure to join this subreddit. If you like this video, comment, subscribe, of course, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.